Ahoj, já vás zdravím u dalšího videa. Hello, welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to take a look at a very interesting topic. I must admit that I have been postponing this topic for quite a while. I believe that a year ago, or maybe even longer, someone, and I think it was more than one person, asked about the pronoun Jenž. What is Jenž? And I thought to myself, yeah, sure. I'll talk about it one day. So now is the time we're gonna talk about it. Why did I avoid this topic? Because in my opinion, Jenž is not that important to know in everyday language. Well, I have covered other outdated words or slightly too formal, but Jenž has different forms, cases, genders, plural and singular, that all adds up. I was afraid that this would be a really long topic, so I decided to make something a little bit different. I'm going to make a teaser, just a little sampler for you to see how this word works, and then you can do some more research if you are interested in learning more and see more examples. But I'll guide you through it step by step. So, Jenž, jdeme na to. Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. What is Jenž? Jenž is a relative pronoun, just like který, which I covered some time ago. We can translate Jenž as who or whom, or which. It's both for people and objects. What makes it special, or rather, what makes it different from který? Který also translates to these, except který is neutral. It means it's not formal or it's not informal. It's simply neutral. So který is used much more in everyday language, even in written form nowadays. A few months ago, I also covered when can you replace který by co. I recommend you watching that video. Now, co, in specific context, I don't mean that you can replace který by co every time. Co is informal. It's very common for spoken Czech, so that's co. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have Jenž, which is very formal and becoming quite archaic now. A little outdated. However, we do use it in mostly written text, in academic writing, or you can find it in literary text. If you're going to read an older book, it's going to contain these forms, so it's a good idea to know about it. I don't think that you would really need to use it yourself. Passive understanding is enough, in my opinion, but also it depends what is it that you do. If you are a translator translating from English to Czech, then of course you need to use it actively as well. In academic writing, for instance, many times you need to say who, which, that, you need to connect clauses. And it's perfectly fine to use který. However, sometimes you have a part that's just full of který and its forms, and it might look overwhelming. So this is what you can do. You can make a variation. Sometimes you can replace který with Jenž, and that looks okay. It makes the text more formal. So if you are in this situation, in this context, when it can be formal or more formal, use both. It's okay. Take a look at these three examples. Let's read them. Všichni se otočili na pána, který zakašlal. Imagine a room full of people that are waiting patiently for a speech to start, and then there is a man at the back coughing. Everyone turned to the man who coughed. Na pána, který zakašlal. Který means who. In this sentence, the first sentence, it is neutral. It is not too formal, it is not informal, it's in the middle. But what if you said, všichni se otočili na pána, jenž zakašlal? It sounds a bit stiff. A little archaic. But I don't know, if the situation calls for it, maybe you need to be more formal. Everyone turned to the gentleman who had coughed. We could translate it something like that. We don't have a way of really translating Jenž in a different way in English in this case. And the third option, Všichni se otočili na pána, co zakašlal. This is the informal version, which is perfectly fine in spoken Czech. Everyone turned to the man, to the guy that coughed. So this is how it works. Now let's take a look at more examples with Jenž and its variations. A language learning app with a green owl, whose name I will not mention, teaches you this word Jenž at some point, or so I've heard. It's too painful and useless to learn this word, since the native Czechs don't even know how to use it themselves. Okay, I slightly exaggerated. It's not entirely useless, and some Czechs do know how to use it. Just to give you an idea, on this website, you can ask questions about the language, Czech language, the correct grammar, the usage of words. And then those questions and answers made by language specialists are posted on this website. Many of the questions are concerning Jenž. For example, this one, just so you know. Tolik k vaší poznámce, již jste učinila před mojí asistentkou. Již is correct here. And yes, již is another form of Jenž, but referring to something feminine. Now let's see how we got to již. Now we're gonna do something really interesting. I'm going to introduce different forms of Jenž, that is, different cases for one particular gender. That would be the masculine animate. We're gonna talk about a man, singular form, one man. Imagine this situation. There is a mysterious man who moved into a small town. Naturally, everybody gossips. They don't know him, so they make up stories about him. The man's name is Zikmund Hrabáček. A mysterious name for a mysterious man. Zikmund Hrabáček. Zikmund is not a Czech name. I apologize to everyone whose name is Zikmund Hrabáček. I don't think there are many, but who knows. We are going to talk about all kinds of gossips that people said about him. Those phrases will all include this relative pronoun Jenž in different cases. All the statements will start with prý je to muž. Prý means they say, like allegedly. Prý je to muž. They say he's a man who does something something. If you are not sure how který works, you have to watch my video here. The link is here or below the video. Because I will not really talk about how it connects the clauses. I'm trying to make it brief here. Nominative case. Prý je to muž, jenž hledá smysl života. Jenž. Pronounced as jenž or jenž, jenž. But people usually say jenž, jenž. They say he's a man who is looking for the meaning of life. Not a juicy gossip. What about this one? Prý je to muž, jehož se všichni bojí. This is the genitive case. Jehož. They say he's a man who everybody is afraid of. Bát se takes the genitive case. Jehož se všichni bojí. Now we have another example for the genitive case with a different form. How is that possible? I'll explain in a second in case you don't know. Prý je to muž, z něhož má každý strach. They say he's a man from whom everybody feels fear. Mít strach means to have fear, to feel fear. Z něhož má každý strach. So these two sentences mean pretty much the same thing, except we have něhož and here jehož. This is because we have a preposition. When we have a preposition, then we have specific forms of these pronouns. So we would say z něhož, we cannot say z jehož, and vice versa. We cannot use něhož here. Něhož, the N has to have a preposition in front of it. So if you hear sentences like this, they sound a little too formal, a little archaic, but you know, sometimes you need the language to sound formal. Like if you have a movie that takes place in 1500s, all these medieval movies. And people watch those, so I understand it's important to know this. I want to quickly show you that we can use který also if we don't want it to be too formal. If we want it to be neutral, then we can use který here. Prý je to muž, který hledá smysl života. Jehož here could be replaced with kterého se všichni bojí, and this one could be z kterého. So it's easy because který doesn't have two forms. Also, if you take a look, jeho and něho are connected with the pronoun on. So on is a little similar, sometimes very similar, to these forms. Moving on to the dative case. The beginning is the same. Statements about Sigmund Hrabáček. Prý je to muž, jemuž nikdo nerozumí. They say he's a man whom nobody understands. Jemuž nikdo nerozumí. Or with a preposition. Prý je to muž, k němuž nikdo nechodí. K němuž nikdo nechodí. They say he's a man whom nobody goes to. Nobody visits him. Now you know why we have two forms here because there is a preposition. Jemuž, němuž. And again, these copy the form on. Personal pronoun on. Jemu and k němu would be the same except we just add ž in here. Now the accusative. Prý je to muž, jehož mají všichni rádi. They say he's a man whom everyone likes. Jehož mají všichni rádi. Or another form for the accusative. Prý je to muž, pro něhož by Šárka udělala cokoliv. Šárka is a lady next door. They say he's a man for whom Šárka would do anything. Pro něhož by Šárka udělala cokoliv. So we have jehož and něhož again. Notice the N form because we have a preposition here. K, pro. These sentences sound very formal, archaic. So we could also replace them by který here. Dative would be in this form. Kterému. And actually this one, kterému, is both here and here. Except here it would be ke kterému. Ke kterému because of easy pronunciation. Now the accusative would be kterého. Kterého mají všichni rádi, pro kterého by Šárka udělala cokoliv. Now the locative case. Prý je to muž, o němž nikdo nic neví. They say he's a man about whom nobody knows anything. O němž nikdo nic neví. You know that locative always comes with a preposition, so we only have one form, the N form. And finally the instrumental case. Prý je to muž, s nímž se nedá o ničem mluvit. They say he's a man with whom it's impossible to talk about anything. S nímž se nedá o ničem mluvit. That is the prepositional form. Now the second form without preposition. Prý je to muž, jímž se mnozí inspirovali. They say he's a man by whom many people have been inspired. Who would have thought? Sigmund Hrabáček. Jímž se mnozí inspirovali. Let's replace this form with který. Prý je to muž, o kterém, and the instrumental is se kterým. Here we would say se kterým. So it's easier to pronounce. There it is. 10 sentences to show you all the forms for one gender. Masculine animate. Just a singular form. We also have plural form. Now you understand why I don't want to show you all the other forms, or not like this. Okay, now that you have gone through all the cases for this particular gender, you are ready to see the full chart. I am going to display it for you, the singular form and the plural form, all the genders. Feel free to take a screenshot. If you think that you need to learn these forms, learn them in context. I'll show you some websites where you can look for many examples. If you think this is way too much for you, I agree. You can just know about this word's existence and that's all. Remember that Jenž is more archaic. When you speak, you don't need it at all. When you read newspaper, maybe you will find forms like that. For example, I want to give you a look from this newspaper Týdeník televize. Let me read it. Lesní město je kromě mnoha stromových stezek protkáno také 300 metrů podzemních chodeb, z nichž některé fungují jako bludiště. Some of which function as a maze. Here's the translation. Z nichž. So you see, if we go back to the chart here, a chodba is feminine. To be specific, it is feminine plural. And then the case is what? It's genitive because of the preposition z. Z nichž. So you go for nichž because z is a preposition. Whew. Okay, now it's time for an exercise. What do? All these sentences look a little bit more archaic because they contain jenž in various forms, different genders in different cases. And I want you to rewrite the Czech sentences using the pronoun který, which we said is neutral. So what do we need for that? Watch my video on který. Or try to wing it. Let's see what happens. Pause the video, do a research if you need to, and let's check it now. Číslo 1. We already saw this first sentence, so this should be easy. Prý je to muž, jenž hledá smysl života. Prý je to muž, který hledá smysl života. Číslo 2. Byla to žena, již každý obdivoval, již replaced by kterou. This is the accusative case. Již is similar to ji. So if you take the pronoun ona, the personal pronoun ona, and you use the accusative case, it would be ji, her. So you just add ž, již. But I don't think a lot of people would say this actually. You would find this in a book. Číslo 3. Navštívili jsme město, o němž se často píše v novinách, o kterém se často píše v novinách. This is the locative case. To město, this is neutral. O něm would correspond to the pronoun ono in the locative case. Číslo 4. Byl to problém, jímž se musel zabývat celý tým. Kterým se musel zabývat celý tým. This was hard, but you could see jímž, this ím ending, is typical for the instrumental case. Číslo 5. Potkal lidi, s nimiž se cítil opravdu dobře, se kterými se cítil opravdu dobře. A nakonec číslo 6. Čekali jsme 5 minut, během nichž jsme si neřekli ani slovo. Během nichž jsme si neřekli ani slovo. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. Během nichž jsme si... Anyway, it would be během kterých jsme si neřekli ani slovo. To je všechno. Thanks so much for watching all this way. I'll be very happy if you look up some sentences using the pronoun jenž and type them in the comments. We can discuss it here in the community. I want to show you where you can look up some examples with jenž. I use the Czech Corpus word in context called context. So you click here and you write jenž. And it's going to give you all kinds of examples here. This is by alphabetical order. I usually go to the end if I want to see something from magazines. First it's books and then at the end is usually magazines. For example here, zastavme se a vyjádřeme vděčnost Václavu Havlovi, jenž tento měsíc zemřel. Here you will see different forms, not only jenž, but you will see all kinds of forms related to this pronoun. So we have, for example, něhož. So if we go back here, here's another great tool, Czech. I just started using it recently. This is the database of translation equivalents. So you choose the language that you want to translate from, for example, from Czech into English. So I would put jenž, hledej. Here it gives you equivalents, how jenž in a particular context can be translated. Of course, there are so many variations. For example, you're interested how it works when it's translated as which here in English. And then you see examples, usually from books. Here is the Czech text, and here is how it was translated into English. Very cool tool. Mějte se krásně a uvidíme se zase za týden. Ahoj!